We worry about drought. We worry about pricing. We worry about equipment. We worry about financing. This tariff is just another thing that we have to worry about.
Todd Western III is a soybean farmer in Waterloo, Iowa. He says trade tensions between the U.S. and China are fueling uncertainty for his business.
Soybean producers are once again being hit harder than they were in the first Trump administration, and China, for its part, has diversified where it pulls these products from, with Brazil becoming the #1 soybean exporter.
Trump urged China to buy more soybeans. It's not going to be easy. Chinese are people too. Chinese has feeling too. And Chinese is hurt. Chinese consume so much soybean from US. We're happy. But when you decide to have a trade war with China, Chinese people don't understand. We make so many things that you're willing to buy. We'll willingly consume so many things from you. A trade war to punish whom? Chinese feeling are hurt. Chinese are simple people. When their feelings hurt, they'll just try to consume as little as possible US-made soybean. That's the only response they have. We have. Simple people. We bought from Brazil soybean. If we can have less US soybean, why not?
Oh, yeah. Here in North Dakota, we definitely are regretting our votes for Grandpa Tariff. Oh, yeah. Me and my husband run a seed farm up here, and Daddy runs a soybean farm. And the tariffs are hitting North Dakota harder than almost any other state. Yeah, we're really concerned about it. Last time Trump was president, we had to get a bailout, and we were hoping that this time it would be better. But I'm not seeing any signs that we're going to get spared this time around either. We had to pick up a couple pieces of steel in West Fargo yesterday, and we asked them if the tariffs had been affecting the prices yet, and they said just talking about the tariffs affects the price. You know, China will start going to Brazil and Africa for their soybeans, and then they'll establish relationships and we'll get completely cut out of the loop. Trump says it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So far in my life, I've never seen the tariffs do any gain for any of us farmers here in North Dakota. I'm not really even sure why we voted for him.
Doug Fuller's family has been farming in northern Polk County for generations.
Now I get to call all the shots.
He's already nervous about the cash crop he's about to start planting. Soybeans are the target of China's retaliatory tariff, 10% on certain imports from the United States, in response to President Trump's 10% blanket tariff on Chinese goods. Fuller is fearful it spells bad news for the 2025 harvest.
You know, they aren't good for the other countries, they aren't good for me. And who could blame them putting reciprocal tariffs on us? You know, it's just a match, you know. And nobody's going to win.
China is one of the largest overseas markets for American soybeans. According to the USDA, the United States exported nearly $13 billion in soybeans to China last year alone. Fuller has already faced 2 years of bean prices dropping and says it looks as if the trend may continue.
Last year, we took a step back, and now we're taking another step back. So I'm, you know, many of us will, you know, we'll get through it, and it's going to be tough on others.
Can we just talk for a minute about the Arkansas soybean farmers? Arkansas voted 2/3 for Trump. Trump had promised to implement tariffs. Trump then implemented those tariffs. China has retaliated, and because our soybeans, the tariff war made our soybeans too expensive. They decided to buy their soybeans from Brazil, signed 20-year contracts with Brazil, and now for a generation, the Arkansas soybean farmers are screwed because they lost their biggest soybean customer. And they are demanding compensation. Demanding. I mean, I almost admire it. I almost admire the audacity. But they said they don't really like taking government handouts, but, they really don't have a choice. And they are demanding that we compensate them.
This is a soybean. Right now, millions of tons of these are sitting in fields just like this, with nowhere to go because of Washington's trade wars. Americans already pay 86% of the tariffs. And now, Washington's idea of a solution is to take even more of your money to bail out farmers for a problem that they created. If Washington won't be serious about helping the American people, I will. Soybeans aren't just food. They can become crayons, paints, candles, even road materials and machine lubricants. Every one of these is an opportunity for new small businesses right here in Tennessee. Local people helping local farmers. New businesses helping local communities. That's how we take back America. And if you send me to Washington, I'll clear the red tape and open doors so these opportunities can grow.
America's soybean farmers are in a world of hurt. They're going to lose their farms and their livelihoods, and they did it to themselves. And now they are begging, pleading, oh, help us. We punished ourselves because we thought Donald Trump was only going to hurt the right people, not us. We thought Donald Trump was going to hurt women and black people and Latinos and immigrants and the homeless and LGBTQ. We never thought Donald Trump would hurt us, even though Donald Trump told us on the campaign trail that he was going to raise tariffs, even though Project 2025 explicitly lays out the tariff plan and the plan to bankrupt soybean farmers all across America so that they can buy their land for cheap. Oh, yeah. And Vice President J.D. Vance owns part of an app to help buy up the bankrupt land. Come on, get real. You were either willfully ignorant, dumb, or both, America's soybean farmers. What I don't hear is contrition. I don't hear the man who was on MSNBC this morning, Scott Brown from Arkansas, soybean farmer, who's going to lose it all. I didn't hear him say, I made a mistake. I didn't hear him say, really, I knew, but I just thought it would turn out different because. He didn't say, I'm going to do something different now. He didn't say, I'm going to vote against Trump. He didn't say he was even going to start voting in his own self-interest. He's just begging for a bailout because that's what we've been doing for 100 plus years in America is bailing out our farmers. They don't deserve it. They don't need it. They can live with their decision. They can also come to the right side and they can admit that they made a mistake and they can admit that racism is expensive and they can admit that they're not going to be racist and bigots anymore and that they're going to put not just their self-interest, but everybody's self-interest ahead of Donald Trump's and MAGA's and Heritage Foundation's. But can they do it? Will they do it? Because the rest of us are waiting for them. We are here open and willing for them to take the right step and to show their humanity. No fear, only love.
Minnesota soybean farmers were in Washington, D.C. this week. They were asking the administration and Congress for either some type of relief when it comes to tariffs and their soybeans or a bailout. Now, farmers across the country are feeling the effects of the tariffs, especially when it comes to China. China was one of the biggest purchasers of soybean from the United States, specifically here in Minnesota. They bought almost every 2 out of 3 rows of soybeans here in Minnesota. China is now buying their soybeans from South America. It's about 20% cheaper to buy their soybeans from South America. Therefore, they no longer need the supply from the United States. The issue is not just that they're not buying soybeans, it's the storage of the soybeans as well. So most farmers, they store their soybeans in storage facilities. However, the space is running out. They only have so much space because no one's buying soybeans. It's also about to be corn harvest here in Minnesota, and with storage facilities almost at capacity, there is nowhere to put their harvest, whether that be corn or soybean. And so many farmers are worried about leaving so much money in their fields just to watch their product go bad. The farmers that were in Washington, D.C. across the country, they are asking for $10 billion in relief and aid. The administration said that they're going to see what they can do. No promises. Now, if you remember back in 2018, 2019, this administration, the Trump administration, issued $26 billion in relief over 2018 and 2019 for the tariffs that were imposed on China during that administration. So we'll see if that happens again. And honestly, the frustrating part is the farmers that were interviewed for the news articles about what's happening with tariffs and the soybean crop. And all of the farmers were like, it's okay. Trump's going to come through for us. Okay.
We're in a very dire situation. September's upon us. Harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field. Historically, over the last 5 years, about a third of soybean sales to China would be booked. China amounts to 25% of our total U.S. soybean crop. So that would be 8 or 9% of the whole U.S. crop would normally be on the books with China right now, and we have 0. That is alarming. The farm economy as a whole is struggling. Inflation has caused our cost of production to rise drastically on every front. Commodity prices, in particular soybeans, are down about 50% from where they were 3 years ago. And our numbers are deeply in the red. And we send this letter to President Trump because we've been talking for months about needing to have sales in place, a deal in place, a phase 2 type agreement that has purchase commitments along with a level playing field on trade with no tariffs. And we haven't had anything happen, unfortunately. And our appeal to President Trump and his administration is make soybeans a priority in any trade negotiations that are taking place. Soybeans are the number 1 agriculture export to China. And in the last trade war, it was 71% of the losses that we had as American farmers. And they're critical.
What's up, good people? Remember last week we talked about the farmers and the soybean issue that they're having right now. Oh, buddy. The farmers have a Chinese, and we're talking about the soybean farmers. The soybean farmers get their purse, or their buyer is China. And China has purchased $0. They have found other distributors to sell them soybean in South America. So we covered that last week. But then there's a new report, and it says the United States has recently begun to buy soybean from Russia again. That's right. The United States purchased soybean in July of 2025 and also May of 2025. Okay, let me put this into perspective. The American soybean farmers are suffering because their purchaser, which is China, is not purchasing soybean because of the tariffs. So America took taxpayers' money and went and purchased soybean from Russia, not their own farmers. Farmers in Arkansas and all the soybean farmers, y'all are being screwed royally. But we tried to tell you. Just because the man sit up here and he's evil and he tells you all these promises because you thought you were going to get bailed out, it's not going to happen. He don't care. You just have to learn to take this in. He bought soybean from Russia, not you. Have a great day.
So I'm going to share with you some absolute catastrophic news for the American agricultural industry that absolutely nobody is talking about. So Donald decided to push tariffs on China, and China pushed some tariffs back. And also another thing that China did, it banned the import of American soybeans. Soybeans, I hear you say, who cares? Well, big difference, China. Good job. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this story. I'd love you to bear with me I'm going to read from actually the United States Department of Agriculture website, and also this story also comes from Reuters. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. So about half of U.S. soybean exports are actually shipped to China. That totals about $12.8 billion in trade to America every year. So that's a lot of money. Also, there's a lot of farms, and there's a lot of businesses, and there's a lot of people. What I don't have is a number of people directly employed by the soybean industry, but the United States, and again I'm reading from the USDA, the United States has 98,281 soybean farming businesses as of January 2025. This is catastrophic news. It's not making the media because, as usual, Donald is making a lot of noise. But unfortunately, a lot of people in the States are going to lose their jobs. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to go out of business because of this ban. And China are just responding to US aggression. And that's what we need to remember here.
I mean, is it possible that we should not have voted for Trump? I just can't understand why President Trump would keep hurting the people that voted for him. My family owns a soybean farm in Illinois, and during his first term, when he put the tariffs on China, he almost bankrupted us, but then he did get a bailout through Congress, a $28 billion bailout, and we were able to accrue our money back. Just in this past week, he put the tariffs on China again. China canceled their contracts with 3 of the biggest soybean exporters in the United States. Our farm grows soybeans, and we sell 100% of our product to the Louis Dreyfus Company. Soybeans are America's #1 export. It's an $18 billion a year industry, and now China has canceled an enormous part of that. We are going to be ruined. Not just us, but so many other farms, and we all voted for him. We just keep voting for him no matter how bad he hurts us. It doesn't really even make sense that we keep voting for him, but we do it anyway. Someone could just maybe help me understand why he keeps hurting the people that put him into office.
Breaking news. MAGA soybean farmers across the southern United States are crying and complaining about the Chinese not buying our soybeans. What? The Chinese are not buying our soybeans because of Trump's tariffs, where they have in turn placed tariffs on our soybeans and made them so expensive that we can't sell soybeans to China, and China is one of the biggest buyers of soybeans in the world. What? Well, MAGA farmers, who did you vote for? MAGA farmers, we tried to tell you this would not be a pretty picture. MAGA farmers, you not remember back in 2018, 2017, and Trump had another tariff war with China, and the same thing happened. Well, did you not expect it to happen again? There was about a $15 or $16 billion bailout. Socialism for the farmers. Oh, it's okay for you all to get payments when Trump messes up the economy on soybeans and causes China to go to South America to buy soybeans. And it's a problem for you now, and you're crying about it, and you're not happy about it. Well, FAFO. You F around and you're going to find out. You did the same thing again. History under Trump repeats itself. We have the largest deficit increase under Trump before, likewise, the second largest one now. Tariff problems under Trump, and you had problems selling your crops in. Same thing again. So when are you going to learn? What do y'all think? I think they don't need to bail them out. I think they need to play on the same field like the rest of us. They don't need to be bailed out. What do you all think? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out light bulbs. Y'all voted for Trump. This is what you get. What do you all think?
China, the world's largest buyer of soybeans, hasn't pre-purchased any soybeans for the upcoming U.S. harvest.
The revenue on our farm is just like any other farm. It's volatile.
Western and other farmers like him are also concerned tariffs will drive up costs. Current rates will mean higher prices for items ranging from fertilizers to farm equipment to tractors. But across America's heartland, a different story is unfolding. Indiana shrimp farmers Carolina and Daryl Brown view tariffs as a blessing.
Oh, they're fabulous. As soon as we heard they were going into effect, I was excited, not just for my shrimp, but for the shrimp boaters and everybody out there who's also trying to harvest shrimp in, because they can't compete with a $7 a pound shrimp.
Over 90% of all shrimp eaten in the U.S. is imported, with most coming from India. A whopping 1.6 billion pounds of shrimp, worth more than $6 billion, is imported annually. Two industries, two different fights. But both are caught in the crosshairs of global trade policy and the high-stakes gamble of tariffs. So what impact will Trump's trade war have on American farmers?
Donald Trump, we love you. We need your help. Oh boy, let's talk about how Trump is screwing the farmers. 500,000 soybean growers in the United States exist and are being severely impacted by this. They're having to now rely on loans to get them through the season. There are 231,000 jobs associated with soybean farming, harvesting, transportation, storage, you name it. Caleb Ragland, who's the president of the American Soybean Association, he said farmers are heading into a harvest season without a single order from China. 25% of soybean farmers' crops are usually sold to China. The prices of soybeans are down 40% because of what's happening under the Trump administration, and production costs are rising. And when I saw that farmer in, I believe, Arkansas, crying, this is a grown-ass man with gray hair. Donald Trump, we love you. We need your help. This is what MAGA doesn't get. Don't leave a seat at the table expecting Donald Trump to come sit down and talk to farmers. He will only sit at the tables that have billionaires and Project 2025 folks. He's only focused on their agenda. And the Project 2025 agenda includes changing the American farming industry that's going to fucking screw every American farmer.
Trump's curse on American farmers is a blessing for Brazil's. Trump killed U.S. soybean farmers who have lost their biggest customer, China. And not only that, they don't know what to plant for next season. A double hit to the bottom line. But one nation's curse is another's good fortune. Brazilian farmers are celebrating a surge in demand from China. Brazil loves Trump because Trump's working for them, or so it seems. Soy farmer Wesley Rosas said it well, quote, "The United States is provoking this fight, but it is Brazil that is going to end up benefiting," unquote. China, the world's largest soybean importer, has shifted its purchases from America to Brazil, which now accounts for over 70% of Chinese soybean imports. Meanwhile, U.S. soybean exports to China have, of course, plummeted, with some farmers questioning the viability of their operations. Again, Trump and the Republican administration have cratered the American economy and crushed American farmers specifically. They benefit other countries. So if you're an American, it's sad news and hard times to come. But if you're Brazilian and a host of other nations, it's the roaring 20s of the 21st century.
U.S. farmers are starting to regret their vote for Trump. From beekeepers to soybean to hay producers, all of them are starting to say, I never thought that voting for Trump 3 times would result in me losing tens of thousands of dollars. A beekeeper out of North Carolina says, yeah, I proudly voted for Trump all 3 times. I flew flags for him and put signs for him in the yard. But now I'm out tens of thousands of dollars due to lost federal funding and tariffs, so I cannot export my products, my honey and my wax, to other countries like I could before, and nobody's buying it in the United States. Hay producers in Idaho and Utah that export alfalfa hay to China are now seeing 135% tariffs put on their product, and all of a sudden, they don't have anywhere to ship it. They held it all winter in hopes of sending it off to China in the spring, and now China's not willing to buy, and other countries picking up the slack for honey, for beeswax, and for hay around the world. Now, China's doing a great job diversifying, and the United States has relied on exports to China for so long that its farmers are going to just continue to suffer. Once again, the majority of them voted for Trump, and now they're finding out.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.